Looks like in the House they've decided, or guess they're going to move forward with Jim Jordan as their speaker designee. Let's see if we get to 18 votes. It did not take long for House Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries to rip into this. Jim Jordan is literally one of the most pathetic individuals who's in Congress. And man, Jeffries did not waste any syllables in describing him.
House Republicans have selected as their nominee to be the Speaker of the People's House the chairman of the Chaos Caucus, a defender in a dangerous way of dysfunction, and an extremist extraordinaire. When we had a narrow majority under the last Congress, led by Speaker Pelosi in partnership with Senate Democrats under the leadership of President Joe Biden, we were able to pass bills to make a difference in the lives of the American people. House Democrats passed legislation to save the economy through the American Rescue Plan by putting shots in arms, money in pockets, and kids back in school, and allow America to be reopened as the strongest economy of any in the developed world. House Democrats were able to pass the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to fix our crumbling bridges, roads, tunnels, airports, our sewer and water systems, our mass transportation systems, and to ensure that there was high-speed internet access and clean water in every community. House Democrats, with our majority, were able to pass gun safety legislation for the first time in 30 years that will save lives. House Democrats were able to pass legislation to stand up for our veterans who were exposed to toxic substances, Agent Orange, and things to undermine their health, their safety, and well-being, and to provide millions of veterans with the health care they need to live the lives that they deserve. House Democrats were able to pass the CHIPS and Science Act to bring domestic manufacturing jobs back home to the United States of America. And House Democrats were able to pass the Inflation Reduction Act to strike a dramatic blow against the climate crisis, set our planet on a sustainable trajectory forward, lower energy costs, strengthen the Affordable Care Act, lower health care costs, and drive down the high price of life-saving prescription drugs for millions of Americans, including dropping the price of insulin from thousands of dollars a year to $35 a month for millions of Americans. That is the track record legislative accomplishment under a House Democratic majority. House Republicans have just elected a Speaker nominee who in 16 years in this Congress hasn't passed a single bill, because his focus has not been on the American people. His focus has been on peddling lies and conspiracy theories and driving division amongst the American people. House Republicans now have a choice. There are only two paths forward. On the one hand, House Republicans can continue to triple down on the chaos, the dysfunction, and the extremism that has been visited upon the American people as a result of the House Republican Civil War. On the other hand, traditional Republicans can break away from the extremism, partner with Democrats on an enlightened bipartisan path forward so we can end the recklessness and get back to doing the business of the American people. And Democrats are ready, willing, and able to get that done.
Well, I must say, Mike, they really have picked an idiot if they're going to go forward with Jim Jordan.
A stone cold idiot. Jim Jordan is one of the dumbest people in the House, in the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives. He gets absolutely nothing done except to push the MAGA agenda, except to push the extreme right Freedom Caucus agenda. So I've been following this closely. We've been discussing this on the African History Network show, and Jim Jordan got 124 votes in the to be the Republican choice, 124 to 81 for Scott, who was the challenger. So it's not clear he's going to get. From what I'm seeing, they need 217 now instead of 218. So they must be a House of Representatives person short. It's not clear he's going to be able to get to 217, but what really needs to happen is Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats need to go to some of those Republicans who in 2022 midterm elections won seats in districts that Joe Biden won, go to 6 to 8 of them and cut a deal for them to support Hakeem Jeffries to be the speaker, some type of power sharing deals, whatever it is. There have been power sharing deals in the past, because we can't have a Jim Jordan as speaker. Nothing's going to get accomplished. They're going to launch more nonsensical investigations. And lastly, it's important for people to understand that continuing resolution that just passed maybe a couple weeks ago,
right,
to keep the government open, that expires November 17th. We're going to be right back in.
Got to do another deal. Got to do another deal.
Do another deal.
Hey, the Republican Accountability Project put out this video, Matt, which is all Republicans talking about this idiot Jim Jordan. Watch this.
Jim Jordan lied about the 2020 election.
Then they added fraud on top of it, and that's why President Trump wasn't elected president.
It was that lie that caused the insurrection at the Capitol.
I don't know how you can ever convince me that President Trump didn't actually win this thing.
They knew President Trump was going to win on election night, but they wanted to keep looking for and finding and counting ballots.
He almost destroyed our democracy.
Got 11 million more votes than he did in 2016, but somehow the guy who never left his house wins the election.
Jim Jordan should never be the Speaker of the House.
They want to lead with election denier. Boy, that's leadership.
You know, I don't know, Roland. I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding fully the contours of this, but I think this could actually be a good thing to this extent. Jim Jordan is an idiot, and Jim Jordan is a Trump proxy. But as we saw with McCarthy, this is the worst time to want this job, right? He had to give up so many concessions that we're talking about how he was the first Speaker of the House ousted in history. So I think perhaps there's a chance if Jim Jordan gets elected, yes, things will grind to an even worse halt, but that civil war will, basically render him ineffective. I mean, it might be an Icarus situation or a clipped wing situation, if you will, where he becomes the Speaker of the House. He tries that, mess where he's grinding the government to a halt, and before we know it, he's gone. And he's not only gone, but he has been rendered ineffective. That might be a little naive take on it, but when I saw that he was in the running for it, I thought they're insane, number one. And number two, if I were him, I wouldn't want this job. And the reason is I think him, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and a few others have tried to really make their political hay by being the, anti-establishment, against everything type of people. But to be the Speaker of the House, you have to effectively work with the other side, which in this instance is going to cut his legs out from under him, and the Jim Jordan show will lose a lot of its effect. So I'm not hoping he becomes Speaker of the House, but if he does become the Speaker of the House, I think his ineffectiveness there may render him ineffective going forward. But that could also be a naive take. I'm not sure.
Lord, the Jim Jordan show is going to be a truly shit show.